This episode of the Deep Thinkers podcast is brought to you by Element Stoneworks. Element Stoneworks is a custom granite surface company. So if you are sick of the laminate in your home, or you're sick of the countertops in your bathroom, or whatever, you give Element Stoneworks a call and they can come in and custom fabricate some granite or marble or whatever hard surfaces you want on your countertops. They do bathrooms, they do kitchens, they do desktops, they do nooks, they do pretty much any surface you want covered in granite or marble or whatever kind of silestone. Give them a call, 480-290-1879, or you can reach them at 602-930-8740. Sometimes it's better to reach out to these guys on text messages. Sometimes they get back a little bit quicker to you if you text them. Or you can find them online on Facebook or Instagram at Element Stoneworks. This episode of the Deep Thinkers podcast is brought to you by Crandall Pest Control. Crandall Pest Control is a family-owned and operated business that was started in 2002. They do scorpions, termites, and general pest control. Mostly that's their bread and butter. But with them being in business for as long as they have been, they branch out into all kinds of pest removal. So give them a call at 480-360-4999, or you can check them out online at crandallpest.com. They're also on Facebook as well as Instagram. If you mention the Deep Thinkers podcast, you'll get $30 off your initial general pest control treatment. So check them out online at crandallpest.com or give them a call at 480-360-4999. Thank you. This episode of the Deep Thinkers podcast is brought to you by Bright Island Outreach. Bright Island Outreach is a group of dental professionals and other volunteers who go down into the Dominican Republic multiple times a year and provide pro bono dental work for the people down there who need it. They network with the local dental colleges in the DR, and they take local students into these impoverished areas where they provide education, extraction, fillings, root canals, cosmetics. They do everything that you would need to do to have a nice, healthy set of chompers. They follow up with these people multiple times a year to ensure that they're getting good quality dental care. If you'd like, you can donate to them. They're on Facebook or Instagram, and you can also reach them at brightislandoutreach.org. Or if you would like to actually go down to the DR yourself and actually spend some time, you can as well. They're always looking for volunteers to accompany them. So check them out online at brightislandoutreach.org or Facebook or Instagram as well. Thank you. Okay, Planet Earth. I am here today with sculptor James O'Neill. How are you today, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for coming on the Deep Thinkers podcast.
My pleasure.
All right. Now, I have been following you for, it's been maybe a year and a half. It was
Oh,
early.
yeah.
How long have you been doing the Cyborg statue?
About 8 months.
Okay, so yeah, it was definitely before the Cyborg statue. Um, let's talk about you for a minute here and your history with sculpting. As I understand, you haven't been doing this for very long.
I actually did my first one about 10 years ago. I cut a tree down in the yard and
Okay.
I was taking logs over to the sawmill, and the son over at the sawmill was doing chainsaw carvings there. So I just thought I would try it, but I had no ability at all to carve with a chainsaw. So
Uh-huh.
but I felt like I could do it with chisels, so I just started with that.
What now? Your first one that you've been, the first one that kind of started getting you a lot of attention for what you're doing was the Muhammad Ali one. Am I right, or is that am I off on that?
Yeah, I started doing animals, and then about 2 years ago, I wanted to try doing people. So I did a Connor McGregor, and that
Right.
was before I was on any social media.
Okay.
So after that one, I started getting on the Instagram and Facebook and everything.
Okay.
And then I started doing Ali right then. So I
Okay.
shared that one as I was doing it.
So Conor
So
McGregor
that's
was
what,
actually your first try.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't post that until it was completely finished.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. Both of those statues or those sculptures are amazing, by the way. Like you nail it every single time. It's really cool. Your attention to detail and just yeah, you do a great job, man.
Thank you.
Right on. I think one of the things I loved about following you recently was actually watching the Cyborg one take place and watching your progress on that. And like, I mean, specifically like watching you fill in the cracks and stuff like that, and all the time you put into it. It's just really cool, man.
Thanks.
So
Yeah, when I was doing the Ali, I started sharing more. And yeah, I think on the last with Cyborg, I tried to throw in a few little videos. People seem to like that.
yeah, for
It's
sure.
hard to do a video because nothing happens very quickly with what I'm doing. It takes so long. But
Yeah.
I just a little of me working on it.
No, it's cool, man. Um, so what going back to McGregor, what type of wood is Conor McGregor made out of?
He is out of a maple.
Maple? Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And you just is that the one you how did you acquire this this piece of maple from Mr. McGregor?
That was actually at the mill. I got friendly with them, and I just was over there one day, and they showed me a couple of big pieces of maple that they had laying there, and they said you could have them if you want. So
And
I took them, and
how did you turn that big piece of maple into Conor McGregor? Was he the first one you wanted to do, or were you looking at like, hey, I think I might be able to like how do you pick who becomes what, like with that piece of maple? Do you pick the fighter and then the maple, or then the wood then the fighter?
I
Or
always, yeah, I always have the idea of what I want to do first, and then I just
okay,
have to find a tree that will fit it, the shape or the color if I'm looking for a certain tone.
that's cool. That's cool. Now with the cyborg one, what type of wood is she made out of?
She's out of a white oak, and that one actually came right out of my yard, and it was a tree I needed
Cool,
to cut down.
cool.
Yeah.
All right. Um, Now, obviously, woods are different types of densities and hardnesses. There, or is that the right word? Even um, which of the sculptures you've worked on the most has been like the easiest to shape, and which one's been a little bit more challenging for you?
Well, I'll tell you, carvers never usually use the woods I'm using. Wood carvers will use softer woods like basswood and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But those are kind of bland looking. I'm more into the oaks and walnuts and maples
Okay.
that end up looking prettiest, but they're all very hard woods, and none of them are really easy to work with.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you there, man. I think your stuff looks a lot cooler than some of the bland stuff out there. I think, I
Thanks.
mean, God, like it looks cool even rough, and then when you polish it up and like the difference between I think it was the McGregor one I was looking at one day when you had a picture of it where it was raw, and then you had a picture of it where it was all shined up. It was just
Yeah.
yeah, like that those things are amazing. So,
Thanks.
are you selling these, or do you have them on display, or what do you do with them?
um, the only display they give right now is sitting right here in my living room.
Really?
But
Okay. Have you had offers?
yeah, not really.
Okay.
I mean, I started doing animals and all that, and I ended up selling all of those. And then about 2 years ago, I was kind of starting over. Everything was gone, so I wanted to try people.
Okay.
So I haven't um, sold any of them yet. Actually, when I did the McGregor, I thought he's probably going to want it because he's very vain, and but
Who?
no, he
Connor?
hasn't come through with an offer on it.
Well, maybe he can't afford to pay you what you're worth.
I think he could.
Probably so. He could probably come up with a number you'd bite at. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
All right.
Actually, this is just kind of a sideline right now. I still work a full-time job, so this
Yeah.
is just something I do on the
So, what kind of wood is Floyd Mayweather made out of?
He's black walnut, and Ali is also black walnut.
Okay. Yeah, both those are great. I'm glad you chose two of the two greatest boxers. The third one arguably would be Marciano, but Muhammad Ali and Floyd Mayweather will always be amazing, no matter what talent comes up in the future.
Yeah, the way that happened, I had finished the McGregor. Then a guy told me he had this big walnut tree in his yard if I wanted to cut it, so I did. So then I was thinking of who to do out of that, and I figured somebody black would be best since it was such a dark wood. And then
Right.
Ali happened to pass away while I was thinking of who to do, so he looked like an obvious choice.
Yeah, I never met him or shook his hand, but I could have. I got pretty close to him. He lived in
Really?
Phoenix where I live for a long time.
Okay.
And when I was younger, we'd go to Suns games, and he was always at Suns games, always down there in the front. Um,
Oh,
you know,
wow.
and I had friends that were related to some people who owned some shares in the Suns, and we'd get down, hey, what's up, and go say hi to him at games and stuff, and he would be right over there. And I should have tried to arrange a picture or something, because that would have been amazing to have a picture with the goat
Yeah.
of boxing, but I was young and didn't realize how amazing he was. I was probably 12, when I was going to
Hmm.
Suns games. So, but yeah, man, we were lucky to have him down here in Arizona for a long time. So the weather is just so
Wow.
nice here. You can't, you know, like
Yeah,
it's like,
we were there at the Phoenix. We were at the Phoenix airport for a couple of hours. That was about the
yeah,
extent of my stay.
yeah. It's there's nicer spots than the airport. You got to come and stay for a while in the wintertime. When where are you at again?
We're in South Jersey.
South Jersey. Okay, yeah. Come in
Yeah.
the wintertime when you got 8 feet of snow out there, and enjoy our low of 65. Like
We
January,
made,
February.
we, made a trip to the Grand Canyon when we were out there. Went up to Sedona for a couple of days.
That's the spot. That's one of my favorite
Yeah,
spots. And
yeah,
that
I like it up
whole
there.
area, Sedona, Jerome, even Cottonwood is a lot of fun, even though it doesn't
Yeah,
quite have the scenery that Sedona has. But yeah,
yeah,
Yavapai County is a great spot in Arizona. You got like Fossil Creek up there. Um, there's some good spots up there. So,
yeah.
what did you think of Sedona? A lot of
Oh,
hippies.
we loved it. Um, we didn't notice that. Just the scenery was what got us. I mean, we were just kind of passing through there on the way to the Grand Canyon
Yeah,
and planning to stay at the canyon. And when we got up to the canyon, we just looked at it for a little while and then spent the night and then figured we'd go back to Sedona for a couple of days instead and hang out there.
yeah. The Grand Canyon's cool, but it's just kind of like, okay, I've seen it.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, my dad is a straight nut job. Him and his friends, they'll hike the Grand Canyon. He doesn't do it as much anymore. I mean, he doesn't do it at all anymore. He's older now, but when he was in his 50s, they would do a Karen hike up one side of the Grand Canyon, or down one side of the Grand Canyon, up the other. And it's not a trail or anything. It's a cairn is three rocks that are cemented on top of each other. And if you stand next to one cairn, then you can, in theory, see the next cairn. And if you can see it, there's a way to get to it. And you've got to
oh,
kind of figure that out. And so, yeah, they take enough water to get to the bottom, and then they refill their waters in streams and stuff, and use iodine tablets to purify it, and then they hike out. And yeah, not exactly my scene. I love to hike, but I like clearly defined trails. I like to have lots of water.
yeah,
I'm not like a crazy out of bounds off road hiker. So,
yeah, I'm with you.
but yeah, Sedona is awesome. One of the things I love about Sedona is when McDonald's tried to open there. One of the city ordinances in there is everything has to be earth tones, otherwise you get fined. And so I'm sure there's another place in the world, but nowhere I've heard of. But McDonald's golden arches aren't actually golden in Sedona; they're turquoise.
Yeah. Oh,
So
really?
it's kind of a unique thing about Sedona as far as like the corporate world got its nose in there, but on their terms a little bit.
Oh, that's good.
So, but yeah, they didn't want these bright orange and gold red and gold arches, clogging up their views and their scenery. So,
That's good that they don't allow that then.
yeah. So this next project you're working on, this piece that you just picked up, what kind of piece is that?
That is a black oak tree, which
Okay,
is, it's not really dark like the walnut, but it's a slightly darker shade of oak.
cool.
It'll still,
Now, and we were talking the other day about who are you planning to carve out into this one?
I was actually planning on doing the rock for the last few months. I had been thinking that, and then when I stood this piece up, I just thought this actually would be better suited to Arnold, who I was hoping to do after that. So I just thought I'm going to use this on Arnold now.
Cool. Yeah, I love both those people, man. I think they're both awesome. I'm stoked to watch you to work for both of them. Arnold's great, man. Have you heard Bill Burr's stand-up comedy about him?
No,
Oh, you got to check it out. It's great.
uh,
Yeah, he talks about the nanny situation. He got caught cheating, and he's like, "Way to go! You took down a great man." He's like, "This guy's in the zone for 15 years, nothing but net. You took him out."
oh,
But yeah, it's great. It's a funny bit. But
yeah, I
yeah,
grew
Arnold.
up watching Arnold. I mean, I was born in '59, so
Yeah.
he was going through all the Mr. Olympia stuff when I was in my teens. So I
How
remember him from all that.
how old were you when you stopped pumping iron?
Uh, Late teens, I think.
Okay, cool. So that right around the same time I got into watching UFC for me, you know. But yeah,
Okay.
that's a great show. That he nailed it. Like he got into character and gave them exactly what they wanted. So launched a career
Yeah.
off of that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
are you gonna do the classic Arnie Olympic pose or
I'm gonna hit just a straight double bicep. I
cool?
think will show his whole physique more. I mean, he does a lot of poses, but I like how that's opened up and you can see everything on him.
Yeah, that's kind of like his specific iconic pose from back in his day as a bodybuilder, you know.
Yeah.
But
Also seen a couple other statues done of him in a couple of the other poses, so I don't want to really recreate
right,
one of those.
right. Like Ronnie Coleman's classic statue is both arms in front of him, kind of down in
Yeah,
that.
they call that the most muscular pose.
Yeah, is that what it? I don't really follow
Yeah.
bodybuilding all that much. I was an Olympic
That's
weightlifter.
what I remember from back then.
Yeah,
40
so
years ago.
that's cool. But yeah, it seems like every person who with bodybuilding, it's kind of like a niche, so like if you're into it, you know everybody, but if you're not, then there's only a couple that
Yeah.
really rise to the top. For me, that's Schwarzenegger and Coleman. But
Yeah.
so yeah, definitely.
That's what I figured he was good because he's not just from the bodybuilding. Everybody knows him from movies and now from being a governor. So
Yeah, and he kind of transcends all that, and he's been around for a while. And
yeah,
no matter what you thought about your politics, it's hard to, any mistakes that he may have made, like it's hard to argue that Arnold's not a great guy and not a great, someone who's had a great career and had a good run. So,
oh, yeah. You look at his achievements. Yeah, he's just done it all.
oh yeah, yeah, he's definitely left his mark. You know, it'll be interesting to see where he goes from here because he's got a lot of good years left in him. And I remember thinking when I was a kid looking at Arnold Schwarzenegger thinking that guy will never age, that guy. And it's just been interesting. Like, yeah, man, motherfucker time does get everybody. And even
Oh yeah,
Arnold is starting to
yeah,
age. I mean, he's aging more gracefully than a lot of people, but he's still getting up there. So
yeah. If you look at the before and after, it's amazing.
yeah, yeah. So, Dwayne Johnson probably after Arnold Schwarzenegger, correct?
Most likely, yeah. There's
Yeah,
also a Mike Tyson I want to do, but with him, I think I need another piece of black walnut, and I don't
yeah,
have that right now.
Yeah, Iron Mike
So it
lives
might be the
here
Rock will be
in
next.
Arizona also. He lives in Scottsdale.
Oh,
So
really? I thought he was up in Vegas.
no, he spends most of his time here in Scottsdale. It's just a cheaper place to
Oh, no
live,
kidding.
you know.
Okay.
But yeah, he's a lot of the local fights and stuff like local boxing matches. He'll get paid to be. He'll make appearances at and stuff. And
Okay.
anybody who's ever worked security in Scottsdale has run into him at clubs and stuff. And
That's
so
cool.
yeah, he's out here a lot. But yeah, I like Mike Tyson too. I'm one of those guys that like I loved him when I was a kid. Back when he was just murdering people. I mean, he shook up the boxing world like nobody had ever seen before. He was this 19-year-old kid just annihilating grown men and doing it quickly, and then
Man, I
um,
wasn't really a boxing fan, but when he fought, you had to watch.
yeah, I mean, you knew it was a knockout and you knew it was going to be fast, and just ferocious and relentless, like just yeah, he was just an exciting fighter to watch.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, of course, custom auto taught him a lot of good tricks, and it's good savvy things. But um, for someone that was just a brawler to just claw his way through technical fighter after technical fighter the way he did was just
Yeah.
yeah, it was crazy. I've been close to him before, and that guy's hands are just, I mean, like I can
Yeah.
only think like, and his arms are massive too. And he's just a huge specimen of a human. And I'm thinking like, dude, if that guy's throwing punches at you, man, like if you can't move out of the way, it's like you couldn't even like. I mean, how do you block something like that big and that fast coming at you? Like, nope, no
Yeah.
thanks. I'll just watch, like. But yeah, he had a lot of trouble for a lot of years, and I was recently, especially with like his one man show, and then like his little cartoon he's got going on. I'm glad Mike Tyson has his shit together. I've wanted Mike Tyson to be like I felt bad for him the years where he was down and out, and the years where he was getting in trouble, and the years where he was having outbursts on TV and stuff, and it seemed like people would just toy with him and mess with him to try to get him there. It's like, dude, leave the man alone. Like, why would you mess with this guy? I think the media was a little unfair to him, during his rough years. And
Yeah. It's good to see him getting a little more respect now. He kind
yeah,
of
I
straightened
mean,
out.
you, anybody's going to have their mess ups. Anybody's going to have their problems. His were just a lot more vocal and a lot more public because of who he was, and he shook up the boxing world in a big way. And when he was on his downslide, of course, when you make such a big splash in the world, everyone's gonna be there to hate on you on the way down. I try not to hate on fighters, whether I like them as a person or not. It takes so much to get out there and compete um, on that kind of stage. Like I do jujitsu and I compete a little bit in that, but
Yeah.
not on the level, not on any kind of level these guys are, and certainly not in front of the type of audience they are. So um, if a fighter I
So what,
don't like loses, I just kind of, okay, they lost. It is what it is.
you
So
watching tonight?
who's fighting? I don't even know who's fighting tonight, man.
They got Frankie Edgar's fighting Brian Ortega. He's a real big jiu-jitsu guy.
Okay, yeah,
It's gonna be a good one.
yeah. No, I
And Cyborg's fighting tonight too.
Oh, is she? Yeah, I probably actually will
Yeah.
be at that one. My cousin will call me like the day of, and he'll be like, "Hey, dude, native New Yorker tonight. We going to the fights." And I'm like, "Who's fighting?" I love jujitsu and I love watching it, but like for whatever reason, man, I don't schedule it into my routine. Without my cousin, I wouldn't be watching as many fights as I do. So
Yeah.
he's one of my sponsors. So it makes sense that we watch the fights together. Crandall Pest Control is a sponsor of the podcast, and he helps sponsor my tournaments and stuff like that. So, but yeah, he always gives me crap for it too. He's like, dude, how are you a fan when you never even know who's fighting? And so He's like my cousin, we talk a lot of trash back and forth. I'm like, dude, you won't even come to jiu-jitsu class with me, dude. I'm a different type of fan. I go out there and do it. You watch it, and we're just talking trash back and forth. But yeah, if Cyborg's fighting tonight, and I do like Frankie Edgar a lot, so I'll probably end up watching that one. With Cyborg, it's just a matter of who she's going to rip apart next these days. She's in her prime.
Yeah. I mean, this other girl she's fighting is an Invicta champion, but I don't think she looks very feminine, and I don't think she's going to have any kind of way to deal with Cyborg's strength.
Cyborg's just a hurricane in there, she just crushes women,
She might actually end up seeing her piece. There's a sports bar here in Jersey that has pay-per-view parties, and the owner actually gets UFC fighters to come there for autograph signings, and he's working on getting Cyborg to come maybe in April or something. And if so, I'm going to have a statue there for her to see. It'd be neat to get a picture of her with the statue.
That would be super cool, man. Yeah. You'll have to hire a crane to put that thing on a flatbed and.
Yeah, I can move them with a hand truck, throw them right in the back of the pickup.
Okay, cool. That difficult. How much do they weigh, roughly?
Most of them are around 250.
Okay.
Ali's probably closer to 350.
So yeah, except for okay.
350, 400.
That's awesome, man. So not that much bigger than Brock Lesnar, not much heavier than Brock Lesnar. Some of them, huh?
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah.
That's cool.
Wood seems to be close to the same body weight as people. Plus, you got the pedestal, which is usually another 100 pounds.
Right.
Or more.
Right. Now, and do you do them exact height, or do you do them exactly to scale, or are you just doing them?
I do. I like to do it exactly life size. I mean, I've heard that sculptures shouldn't be, that they should always be like 10% more or something, but I don't get that. I like life size. That way you have the feel of standing next to the actual person.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like that too. Yeah. That'll be cool. Cyborg takes a lot of shit in the media too, man. For some reason, people just like to hate on her.
And it's weird because she's such a good person. She never gets into trash talking her opponents. I mean, she's just very professional.
Yeah.
And it's just about who's the best fighter. It's nothing personal with her.
Yeah, she. What's weird with her is like people that work for the UFC have like trashed on her, like during that Rogan episode where Dana White, Tony Hinchcliffe, and Joe Rogan are talking back and forth about her. The one that pissed her off, and like she responded. I was just kind of like, "Come on, guys! Like where is your level of professionalism here?
All that with UFC, I think, started when they had Rousey there, and they were trying to keep Cyborg from getting a shot at her. So they were just bringing up the steroid use that she got caught on, and just basically trying to keep her out of the organization because they wanted to protect Ronda. But now that Ronda's gone, I think they're realizing they need to take advantage of what a star is.
Yeah, she and like whether you hate athletes for using PEDs or not, like whatever your stance on PEDs is, no one can deny her talent. I think she's a jiu-jitsu purple belt, if not a brown belt now. Or I mean, she's a higher ranking belt. I mean, she's badass. I've seen footage of her competing in jiu-jitsu and just jiu-jitsu only. In gi, and she's no joke. So, but gets hated on a lot, man. I don't know. I mean, Ronda's great at judo. Ronda's got a great ground game, but that would have been the fight. The fight, the super fight. So, who knows?
Ronda was kind of like Hoist Gracie when he came in. He had a skill that nobody was anywhere near as good at, and he was able to beat him for a while. But eventually, everyone else catches up.
Right.
Same thing. Ronda eventually found a way to deal with her.
Yeah, I was watching that Holly Holm fight with Ronda, and that was exciting. I couldn't believe what I was watching when Holly hurt her and then came in and finished her. It was just, it was nuts.
Impressive.
Yeah. But I mean, that title that for that division in the women's MMA is up for grabs, man. It's the hot seat. Like Amanda Nunes is doing a pretty good job of holding it, but we'll see. Like that's the thing with
Yeah,
Ronda. What she did there is she spiked the talent level, and everybody else kind of rose to meet it. Um,
yeah,
so we'll see what goes on, you know. But
yeah,
um, who was it? It was Valentina Shevchenko who fought Nunes for the title last, right?
yeah,
That
yeah.
was a close
She's
fight.
actually she's actually moved down a weight class now. She would actually walk around at 135,
Okay.
whereas Nunes walks around at 150.
Yeah.
So Valentina fought. She's fighting bigger people. Now she's down to 125, and she's just going to destroy that division.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Um, yeah, that weight cutting is crazy. I live in, I'm out here in Phoenix, Arizona, but I live in Mesa. And I got, when I first started playing jujitsu, I walked into Power MMA and signed up there. It closed about 6 months later, and my coach, Andre Maracaba, um, opened up his own shop. And so I train at just a jujitsu gym now. But um, the first time I saw Ryan Bader, in the flesh walking around, I was surprised at how much bigger he is than he is on TV. I was just like, what's that all about? And someone's like, well, he's cutting 15 pounds. I was like, oh, I forgot about that. I forgot about the weight cut. But yeah, it's
Huh.
crazy how much weight these fighters actually have to cut to hit that. So, um,
Yeah, I remember when Cyborg cut to 140 a few years back. They said her coach said that by the time she fought the next night, she would weigh between 165 and 168 after weighing in at 140.
oh, that's not healthy.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I love, and that's my problem with MMA. And I don't know, I've got not MMA, but I love mixed martial arts. And I love martial arts. I love boxing. I love jujitsu. I love Muay Thai. I love watching it. I did karate back in the day, back when I was in high school. Was out of martial arts for a long time, and I always felt the call to get back into it, specifically jujitsu. And then I started back just before my 38th birthday. Um, so, but having said all that, like the UFC, there's certain things about the UFC that really just make me cringe, and one of them is the weight cutting. Just because it's so unhealthy for these fighters in the long run. And now they're not letting them use IV bags to rehydrate, and it's like I
yeah. I don't,
understand.
I don't even get it why they put such an emphasis on this weight cut, and then they don't even care what weight you actually fight at. It's just,
It's
I mean, you should
it's
be fighting at that
ridiculous.
weight. You should weigh in right on the way into the ring, in my opinion.
Yeah, or like if they're really concerned about it, like do a weekend, do a pre-weigh in 5 days out where you have to be at a certain weight, and then the day of at whatever weight you're fighting at. That way if you don't make the first weight, they can. I don't know. It just then there's fighters out there that don't cut weight at all. I think those are the ones that are going to probably have the most longevity in the sport, and they're probably going to age the best when they get out of the sport. You know,
Yeah,
um, I don't cut weight when I do jujitsu. Of course, I'm a white belt and I'm competing at in the Masters 2 division, so um, I'm not really taking it super seriously. I mean, I take it seriously, but it's not like I'm trying to make a living out there doing it. But yeah, man, even making weight when you're a little heavy for that, though, I wouldn't call it cutting weight, but even making weight sucks, man. Like it can mess with your blood sugar. It can mess with you, especially if you
oh,
haven't
yeah,
done it a whole lot. Like even like cutting 4 or 5 or making weight like 4 or 5 pounds, you know, in 3 or 4 days sucks sometimes. If you're really worried about it. Um,
yeah, I can imagine.
so, and then you got to go out there and compete, and especially with jujitsu, it's so physically demanding. Um, you're just grappling in general is just a high intensity high
Yeah.
intensity activity. So, but yeah, that's one thing that bugs me about the competition level with mixed martial arts. Um, the other thing is I don't feel like the UFC takes care of their fighters. I don't think they I don't think they pay them enough. I think they should cover their camps. I think they should give them insurance. I think they I don't know, man. I think
Only the top few really get what they're worth. Everyone else, I mean, it's unreal that some of them fighters go in there. You read the salaries and they like fought for 8 grand or something.
yeah, dude, they do it for the love of what they're doing, man. And you know, NFL players at least get taken care of. They got retirement packages and things like that when they sign. Um, same with every other major sport. Where you actually sign with an organization, and the UFC signs fighters. Um,
Yeah.
so that's the one thing that really that's the main thing that I have a problem with the UFC is they don't take care of their fighters. That way, they kind of just I don't know. Sometimes it feels like they kind of get as many good years as they can out of them, and then they kind of just cut them loose. And I hate to say it, but it's like what they used to do with greyhound dogs back in the 80s and the 90s, and before they started getting in trouble. So that's
I think
one
that's why
thing.
you got so many leaving now for Bellator because
Yes,
Bellator they can make a living.
yeah. At least Bellator is paying their athletes a little bit better. Like I'll give that to them. The only gripe I have with Bellator is if the guy gets knocked out, they'll fight him 6 months, maybe 8 months, 10 months later, and yeah, they're paying him for it, but at the same time, that's a little scary. You know, um, the other thing that drives me crazy, as much as I do like the UFC, but their ranking system, man, like,
It goes out the window when they get two big names they want to put in there for a show.
well,
Ranking.
the ranking system really doesn't even with their smaller athletes, like in boxing, like you always know who the top contenders are. You always know who the champion is. You always have an idea, unless someone gets hurt or gets in trouble or something. You always have an idea of who they're going to fight. With the UFC, it's literally like they're putting names in a hat and then going, next name, next name. Oh, yeah, there we go. That's a good fight. Um, so it's kind of like it's hard for a lot of. I think that's the reason. One of the reasons why MMA kind of gets a bad rap among boxing like true boxing fans and other true combat sports fans, is because of that ranking system. So, but I mean, you iron out those things, you take care of those things, and then the UFC could be a beautiful thing. It's just, I mean, it's great. It's just not quite there yet. So,
Yeah, they're trying to balance the whole strictly sport ranking thing with the show aspect of it and the money
yeah,
end of it.
yeah. And I don't know, man. I think those wrestlers that come in, I think they should go through the Ultimate Fighter. I'm a purist that way. Um, Man, Kimbo Slice joined the Ultimate Fighter. And if that guy can go in there humble and coachable, and I was super impressed with who he was on that show. I was just like, dang, okay, like, yeah, he's a backyard brawler, but like he's in there trying to learn how to
He wanted
fight, like, um, but yeah, I'm a Kimbo fan for that, because mostly because of that show. I mean, he was cool to watch before, but after that show, I was like, all right, yeah, this guy's cool.
yeah, I like him. He'd be a good carving too. He
Yeah,
had that great physique.
yeah, I follow his. I think it's his wife or someone in his family runs an Instagram account for him, and I follow them. But
Okay.
yeah, whenever I wear a beanie with my ears out, people always ask me, like, people ask me if I wear it for religious reasons. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not Muslim. I'm just trying to look like Kimbo Slice. Calm down, But no one seems to get it. I can't imagine why. So, but yeah. Now we had talked a couple weeks ago about Dwayne Johnson. What have you picked out a pose for him? I still think you should do the '80s picture where he's got the fanny pack on and the necklace and the
I've
Jerry
gotten that
curl.
from a few people.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah,
That one would be the ideal one right there. But I mean, I can understand these things take months to accomplish. So if you want a different pose, that might be cool too. But I'm still gonna
yeah.
say I think you should do that one. I've said my piece.
I could knock him out in a week, I'd probably throw that in there just for the fun of it. But yeah, I don't know if I'm going to spend half a year to pull that off.
I know, right? Especially when he's got so many crazy wrestling ones, like, or you can even do him playing football, like,
Yeah, I really hadn't even decided on how to do him.
yeah,
I mean, I have in mind to do this art show later in the year and put them all together. And the theme between them all is that they're all champions. So I, I was going to go for the wrestling end just to have him fit in with the rest for that. But then I'd
yeah,
rather not even do him as a wrestler. I'd rather just do him as himself.
yeah.
So
You
just
could, you
switching to
could,
Arnold works good because Arnold's the champion bodybuilder, so he'll fit in there
right.
too.
You could always do him in like an Armani suit, and something off of Ballers.
Yeah, I gotta. My thing is trying to carve the muscles, so he's definitely got to be shirtless
Yeah, for sure.
to finish the week.
Yeah, wrestling might be your best bet then, or best bet than
Yeah,
something arms out wide or something. So
yeah.
yeah.
We'll see.
Have you ever thought about? I mean, what other women champion have you thought about other than Cyborg?
I could see the benefit in doing Rousey. She's that iconic that it
Yeah,
would be worthwhile. I'm a big Joanna fan, so I
yeah,
could win her.
yeah. It's a Joanna. The J. It's a soft J.
Yeah, yeah,
Joanna. Yeah, she's great. Man, she took a tough loss this last time, but I think she'll rally hard and come back. She's
yeah. I don't think she was herself for that fight. I think whatever went wrong, she's going to be ready this time.
Yeah, she said it was the weight cut. She said it
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
not
made
hard
her
to
slow in
believe.
her mind. So
Yeah,
I'll take her at her
she
word.
never even got started. She never even tried to attack or anything. So
Yeah, she wasn't out there throwing fists like a killer like she normally is. Man, these women go out there and leave it all out there. And I've seen when she fought Valerie, what's her last name? It's a French Canadian. Yeah. At the end when they interviewed her and she had those black eyes right there, I was just like, oh my gosh, that woman has got fists of iron. Um, that was a rough fight. But she's put a lot of warriors down, Joanna. I think she'll rally hard and come back. She's definitely not done with her career, and she's got that it factor where people just like her, you know.
yeah,
So
like her or hate her. She's kind of like McGregor there. She's getting real polarizing. There's a lot of people that don't like her attitude and
yeah,
things. So
yeah. I like Claudia Gadala a lot too. It'd be interesting to see her.
I like
Yeah, she's
I
a
also like
badass. Who?
Jessica Andrade.
Okay, yeah, yeah, she's awesome also. Yeah, there's a lot of like women's MMA was like a breath of fresh air. Like it was unexpected from my point of view. I didn't, I mean, I thought it was going to be kind of like, the NBA and the WNBA. I didn't think there was going to be like a lot of interest there. And then when they came in, it was just like, wow, this is awesome, actually. Um,
Well, the women, it's rare to see a boring women's fight. I mean,
yeah,
they just really seem to go at it, whereas some of the men's fights are less exciting even than
yeah. Even with
some.
jujitsu, like even
Yeah,
in these local tournaments in Arizona, um, women when women fight, they really fight. Like
yeah,
they're out there. The feathers are flying, so to speak.
yeah.
It's super entertaining. So if you had more time on your hands to carve these, do you think you could crank them out a little faster? What do you like? Say you didn't have to work full time. James O'Neill was just selling these things for 100 grand a pop. How many do you think you could crank out in a year at that point?
If I did it as a full-time job, I'm thinking I could do it. It would still take about 3 months for each one, so
Okay.
maybe I could do three for a year.
So you'd yeah, you'd still want to sell these things for like 100 grand a pop then, to do it
I'd
full
sell.
time.
I mean, that would be great, but I mean, it becomes worth the money for a lot less than that.
Yeah. Well, I'm telling Planet Earth they need to offer you 100 grand for these things. So that's my price that I'm putting out there for you. And all right, Planet Earth, you hear that? Check out James O'Neill. Now I follow you on Instagram. And I follow you on YouTube also. What are some other platforms that you're on social media so people can check out your work?
I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. Although Instagram's where I seem to be getting the biggest following. I like
Yeah,
Instagram the best.
Instagram's my
So I
favorite
see
social media also.
more often.
Right on. What is your Instagram handle?
It's I need to think of a catchier handle. Right now it's just JIM104GMC.
Okay. What are some hashtags that you use that where they can find you on hashtags just in case you change your handle up?
It varies depending on the carving I'm working on. I'll use more related to that person, or like there's like with McGregor, I'd use a lot of MMA, UFC
Okay.
hashtags.
I'm
They're
gonna I'm
different.
okay, I'm gonna throw this out there, James, and you can do with what you want, but um you might want to consider just putting your name as a hashtag. That way people can find you no matter what it is because I mean, I know this is a hobby for you, but
I never even considered.
I know this is a hobby for you, man, but I have a feeling this is going to really take off for you, especially as you start cranking out more and more. Um, there's not
I'm thinking it
really,
has to start to get bigger. Yeah, I'm starting to get attention now, and I do think it's going to take off. I think Arnold is going to get a lot of attention, and yeah, I do think it's going to. I think this year is going to be a good year in
yeah.
terms of getting exposure.
Well, of course,
The name on the hashtag's a good idea. I got to start doing that.
yeah, I mean, of course, you'll get dozens of new fans across the world through the deep thinkers. I mean, dozens of people listen to my podcast every decade. So, uh, but what was that?
More the merrier. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm just.
absolutely. But yeah, I think this is gonna get big for you. Yeah, there's a lot of sculptors out there, but there's not a lot of sculptors out there carving, like you said, in the wood that you're doing, as well as the subject material that you're doing. Yeah, I mean, I am a fan, totally. So, but and of course, we're gonna have some links and some pictures of your work through this podcast. I'm gonna actually, with your permission, I'm gonna use some of the images and throw them into the podcast. Normally, I just have my icon, but if we can throw some pictures up as we're talking about it.
Whatever you want, whatever you see out there, you can use.
Perfect. Thank you. Cool. What kind of music do you like, James?
Um,
Random question, I know, but I ask that to everyone. So
I guess I grew up with classic rock, so mostly rock. I don't know. There's a lot of new music. I just find myself changing channels very quickly.
yeah, I got you, man. I'll eat from the variety pack. I love all kinds of music, but even so, there's a lot to be said for that old school classic rock. There's a reason that classic rock is its own genre, you know.
Yeah,
So no, that's cool, man. Um, you like Southern rock, like Leonard Skinner, stuff like that, Allman
yeah,
Brothers? Okay.
yeah.
Have you heard of a band called Blackberry Smoke?
Never.
All right, you might check them out. You might like them.
Okay.
They might strike a chord with you. They sound a bit like Leonard Skinner. They've got a song called Freedom Song. They got a song called Six Ways to Sunday. They've got a song called Up in Smoke that I really like to jam out to. But yeah, I might want to give them. They're not like super young guys. They're probably in their 40s or something. But newer music that's not quite so plasticky. It's not
Yeah.
quite so disposable as a lot of new music. Little more depth to it. But and
I
you got
never. I don't even seem to listen to a lot anymore. You'd think I would have something playing when I'm working because I'm doing it for hours and hours, but I actually don't have anything going on other than just. I think it would distract me if anything else was on.
yeah. Do you listen to podcasts then? Like, what do you do when you're driving to work?
Um, Usually Howard Stern.
There we go. There we go.
That's about it.
Yeah. So not podcast, but it's the OG of talk radio. You got to love that. So I used to listen to him a lot growing up. Like back on terrestrial radio during the Stuttering John days, I would listen to him like on my way to high school and just be cracking up, or on my way to work and just, yeah, just like hilarious. Like I went and saw Private Parts when it came out in the movie theaters. It was rated R and I wasn't allowed to. I broke the rules. But my friends and I all went and watched it. So
He's gotten, I guess a lot of people don't see him anymore because he's on satellite radio now and you have to pay
yeah.
for it. But he gets some great interviews on there anymore. I love it when he has guests on because he really gets into them.
Yeah, well the thing is he has a way of making people feel comfortable that a lot of other radio hosts just don't have that skill.
Yeah,
You can't teach that, you know. Um, and plus, he's got the notoriety that he's been so great at what he does for so long that people
it's
will
the big, yeah,
people will tell him things that they won't tell other people.
yeah.
Like they'll just be like, "Oh, I'm on Howard Stern. Yeah, what? Yeah, ask away." So
He'll do an interview with somebody and then all the other uh, news things will be using parts of his interview to put it.
yeah, he is the OG of talk radio. He's the one that made talk radio like funny and not boring and cool and I mean, yeah, like you could listen to talk radio about business or like politics or religion or something like that, but he made talk radio like universal. And like what he did with the Whack Pack, I mean, the Whack Pack was hilarious. Like the Whack Pack had a great run, man. Like anytime I come across an old clip and it's somebody from the old Whack Pack, it's just like, are you kidding me? Like, yeah, like the stuff that he would have them do. Uh, yeah, he pushed the boundaries a lot, and he got away with a lot. And anybody that does talk radio owns owes a lot to Howard Stern, no matter what they say, whether they like him or not. Even people that would hate him, like religious talk radios or people like that, they still owe a lot to Howard Stern, because Howard Stern paved the way to do what they do. So,
Yeah,
but right on, man. So it looks like we're coming to the end of our time here, James. Thank you for doing this interview on such short notice. Thank you for your time. And we've been trying to get together for a couple months now, and I'm glad we were able to lock it down and actually get one together. So
I mean,
when you finish the Arnold Schwarzenegger one, you'll have to come back on again, okay?
absolutely, yeah. I'm
All
hoping to
right.
actually get started today.
Oh, nice, man. Well, yeah, I can't take up any of your more time, man. You got to get to work. So,
Yeah,
all right, man. Thanks again. Planet Earth, please follow James O'Neill online on Facebook, on Instagram as well. You'll see a lot of his good stuff. Follow him on YouTube. YouTube, actually, once you get 1,000 followers, as you know, people, um, you can start to make some money off YouTube. So make sure that you give him
I need, I need to get into the YouTube thing. I haven't posted on there in quite a while. I need to start putting videos on there.
yeah, man. Just whatever videos you put on Instagram, put on YouTube also. What's cool about YouTube videos is you can share them on other platforms too. Like you can share them on Facebook and things like that. So, but yeah,
This is
Planet Earth.
probably a good time then when I'm getting started on this Arnold. Maybe I'll try to do that. Every video I do, I'll put right on YouTube and get
Yeah,
that going.
especially if it's like a short 2-minute video. Like people on YouTube are way more likely to watch a quick 2-minute video than they are to listen to an hour and a half podcast. So, but Planet Earth, follow James O'Neill online. Comment on his videos, comment on his pictures, show him the love for his creations, his sculptures, and somebody buy one of these off him for $100,000 so he can retire and do this full time. And above all, be excellent to each other.
Thank you.